rockback positional breathing. So one of the positions that we like to have people breathe into in their warm-up is called a rockback position, and this is a way to get breath into your back. In general, many people feel this most in the upper part of their back between their shoulder blades, but it's also a good position to start to feel some of the breath come into the lower part of your back. So let me go over how we breathe. You can skip this part if you've watched other of our breathing videos before, but I'll go over how we want you to breathe, and then we'll go over the position that you're going to be in to breathe. So breathing in general, what we want you to do is take your hand, put it just below your rib cage, put the other hand on your belly, and then take an inhale through your nose, and then a long sighing exhale out of your mouth. Do that a couple times. Inhale through your nose, long sighing exhale out of your mouth, and kind of pay attention to what's happening underneath your hands. See if you can feel when you inhale that both your ribs, kind of where your upper hand is, and your belly are kind of moving when you inhale. And then as you exhale, see if you can really pay attention to this lower part of your abs really tightening as you get to the end of that exhale, and really try to get all the air out at the end of that exhale. So paying attention to that tightening in your abs is going to lead to the next step of what I want you to do, which is after you get that nice long exhale and your abs down there are really nice and tight, I want you to keep those abs tight and then take an inhale. So once you have those abs tight, try to inhale without letting this bottom part of your abs go. It's actually going to probably start to lengthen a little bit. You can't keep them fully contracted all the way like you did at the bottom of your exhale, but the goal is to keep them tight enough that they have sort of a slow extension as you inhale, and air actually has the opportunity to move to some other parts of your body. In this case, the position we're going to use is going to try to direct most of the air into your back. But keeping your abs tight is a key piece to that, so that you don't just resort to the air at the end of the exhale, and then when you go to inhale, just having your belly come out. So keeping your abs tight, or as tight as you can keep them, and only allowing them to have to do a sort of a slow, controlled sort of movement as you go to inhale will allow breath to go to some other parts of your body. So that's a key piece to how we want you to breathe. So the rock back position itself, what you're going to do is you're going to get on your hands and knees to start with, and we'll have you basically see if you can feel the position of your pelvis, and what you want to do is kind of tilt it forward and backwards a few times like this, so that you can feel the difference in the two. And what we want for this position is we want this sort of scooped under position of your pelvis. So we don't want that back arch, we want it to be here. But we don't want you to be in a full yoga cat position where you're pushing up through your thoracic. So to start with, we just want to get that slight pelvic tilt under. You should be able to feel that this part of your back is starting to round. And then from there, I want you to just keep that rounding and slowly sit back onto your heels with that rounded. So as you go to sit back, what you don't want is to allow yourself to just push your butt back here and arch your back. So keep and get that round, sit back on your heels with that still rounded. That should possibly give you a nice long stretch here in the low part of your back, because you're keeping it rounded when it's not usually rounded in this position. Try to keep your knees pretty close together, as close as is comfortable, so that when you bend forward, your belly is going to end up on your thighs. And then I want you to take your elbows, put them as close to your knees as possible. You can leave your hands just in a neutral position here, or if you really want to try to force more air into your back, you can turn your palms up facing the ceiling. And that will try to cut off more of the front part of your chest from getting breath and direct more of it into your back. So from here, the last part of it before you start breathing is I want you to think about slightly digging your elbows into the floor so that your shoulder blades slightly protract. But you don't want to go too hard or do too much here, because you don't want to get your neck and your upper trapped and shoulders involved. So I don't want to see that where your neck gets shorter. But if you can just do a slight sort of push into the ground so you get a little more space between your shoulder blades in the back, this whole time trying to keep this round in your low back while you do that. So your back should feel pretty open just from a starting position. And then make sure you're looking up and right in between your hands. You don't want to have your head hanging down here. It'll be harder to breathe in that position. You want to have a little bit of a forward looking just right between your hands. So from here in this rounded position, pushing down with the elbows, you're just going to take a breath in through your nose like we talked about. And then a long sighing exhale. Keep those abs contracted and inhale again. So do that, repeat that breath 5 to 10 times in that position. You should really start to feel your shoulder blades sort of pulling apart from each other. And that is the rock back positional breathing.